No plan, no concept. With this method, when the enemy strikes and you also decide to strike, you hit with your body and with your spirit, and your hands strike out of a void, emerging instantaneously. This is the no plan, no concept strike. It is a very effective method of hitting, and is often used. You must practice it well in order to understand it. Oh, hey there, Derek. Looks like you're reading some bills or something. How's that?
Another week, another parking ticket.
Oh, another one. Those darn meters. Well, it's around noon. I guess we should have Bitcoin Talk Show, huh?
Hey, let's do it. It's Wednesday. It's about that time. And this time, we're actually joined by a special guest. I see Anthony over there. Hey, Anthony.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Hey, where are you broadcasting from?
I am broadcasting from the studios at Decentral in Toronto.
Wow.
Decentral is a co-working space, business development center for all things decentralized. This is our studio, which we've set up over the last couple of weeks for our station, Decentral TV, and our video show, Decentral Talk Live.
Yeah, speaking of Decentral Talk Live and Decentral.tv, I'm doing a little bit of screen sharing here now so you can see what it looks like when you go to Decentral.tv. I am impressed. Check out this cool website. So you've got some tweets over there in the top left-hand corner. You've got a chart down in the bottom left-hand corner, some scrolly doobly-doos at the bottom with some info, and then an entertaining Boxo video up in the upper right-hand corner. Very cool.
And if you hit refresh, Derek, you'll actually see the Decentral Talk Live, which started at 3.
Oh, cool. All right, yeah. So I'm hitting refresh now. We'll take a look, see if that's true. Oh, there it is. That is sharp. So how'd you put all this together?
We've been working on this for quite a few months, actually. We wanted to have a one-stop dashboard for everything Bitcoin with a focus on video content, but also, curated headline news from many different sources, not just a few sources. So we've got CoinDesk headlines there. We've got Cointelegraph headlines, Twitter feeds, which we curate, charts and graphs, the top 15 altcoin information at the bottom, and then customizable exchanges up top with currencies that you can set depending where you are in the world.
All very exciting and important. Something I didn't even know that was happening until I contacted you earlier this week about an idea we talked about last week on Bitcoin Talk Show, which was ChangeTip, this company that allows people to, through comment sections on Twitter or YouTube, to tip people with Bitcoin. And I thought that was a great idea. However, we talked about last week, there are some concerns that we hosts of Bitcoin Talk Show and we at the World Crypto Network have about the privacy of users using a centralized service like that. Well, they could have their privacy sort of unraveled or discovered by some bad agents. I'm not saying that ChangeTip are the bad agents, but just imagine if that information were to fall into the wrong hands. So we were pretty concerned about that, and I wanted to talk to you about CryptoKit. And about some sort of alternative for ChangeTip that might be able to exist. And sort of I'm just doing a little bit of brainstorming live. Like we're just sort of talking about this idea casually last week, and I wanted to continue that discussion. So you're a little bit familiar with ChangeTip, correct, Anthony?
I am. I'm actually familiar with ChangeTip. I'm familiar with the the Cryptiv as well. Cryptiv's another tipping service. Does things a little bit differently than ChangeTip. And also familiar with the Coinbase system that they use.
So
Yes.
have you given any thought to this concern that some of our co-hosts have with regard to privacy? Is this a legitimate concern?
I haven't actually thought of it as an issue with privacy. I mean, it's kind of like any other website. You're signing up for it, and it's probably linking to your different accounts. If you did have an issue with privacy, you could probably set up a anonymous account away from your other Twitter feeds or link it to perhaps other accounts that aren't your main ones that you're using. I thought also maybe kind of an issue of you'd be storing your funds with them, but it's probably dealing with very small amounts, so I don't think that's really an issue. So for me personally, I don't have an issue with the privacy thing. I wouldn't be too concerned if my Facebook or my Twitter account was linked directly and people are sending me tweets. I mean, just like any other site, though, if their security isn't that good, perhaps accounts can get compromised. But I think that the direct linking of Facebook and Twitter accounts wouldn't be compromised on those ends. So if you had a ChangeTip account, you wouldn't have your Twitter, your Facebook stuff compromised, because they're isolated and it's an API call that actually hooks them up. So the only thing that they'd be able to take would be pretty much the information, if they were to get into the change tip account, would be the information from there. So I'm not concerned about all of my accounts being compromised through the change tip system.
It is always a question of best practices. Under an ideal world where every Bitcoiner is using a new address for every transaction, we don't really have to worry. But I think everyone knows it's not an ideal world. So if you're the kind of Bitcoiner, maybe you don't know very much about Bitcoin, you're not using a hierarchical wallet where you're creating new addresses all the time, and you give your one Bitcoin address that you've been using to buy everything to ChangeTip, you've now linked your one Bitcoin address with your Twitter, your Reddit, your Facebook, all of your tweets, all of your comments, all of your posts, even your YouTube videos could all now be linked to all of the things you've ever bought with Bitcoin. It just seems like a lot of information suddenly centralized, and there's no kind of warning on this website about the centralization of your data. There's no data retention policy. There's no data anonymity policy where maybe after a year they're going to anonymize the tips. There's very little information, and it's only recently, last week, that they released their very first security announcement explaining some of their security practices, and we laud them for that. We would like to see more releases, more transparency for what's going on.
But do you actually see other users' account? Isn't it all done internally? Like I don't think the addresses for the customers are actually published anywhere.
They're not published anywhere, but there is a section in the privacy policy that says if the company is sold to another company through bankruptcy or any other kind of action, that the user data would go with it. So there is kind of a concern. We wonder where the product is. How do they make money? They say they're going to charge a 1% fee on withdrawals, but they've moved that back from January to June. This is the second time they've moved it back. And we wonder, why did a company give them $3.5 million if they don't visibly make any money? It's a bit odd.
Well, so what happens right now in the space, and I'm involved with a lot of different startups, and I'm involved with, I've invested in a few different companies. A lot of it's not about making money right now in the Bitcoin space. It's about carving out a niche, and it's about actually getting a piece of the pie where down the road you're looking to sell or you're looking to move out. So you get a lot of investment money coming into the space right now that is not really based on sales or based on income projections right now. Look at what blockchain.info just got, $30 million raise. They get advertising. That's pretty much all the income that they're generating right now. So how does those two things compare? So really in the space, it's not about what you're making money with right now. It's getting a concept, an idea out there that could eventually be something down the road. They have a lot of opportunity to look at different ways to make money, and then eventually take their technology and perhaps sell it to a larger company. But it's not about making the money. So you can't really compare the amount that they've raised right now with really the revenue streams.
So that's sort of my concern, Anthony, is that they don't have a product right now, so their product is user data, and I'm not concerned with that normally. If it's Facebook, Twitter, whoever, I don't care. You want to build your company and then sell later on 3 years down the line to a company, and you made your money and you walk away, fine. But with Bitcoin, it's a little concerning to me because I know that there are people who are tipping each other, and that user data can reveal private financial information about them. I'm not concerned about their identities being linked with Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus or something. I'm concerned with people who are well-meaning Bitcoin users who just want to say tip a music artist online, and then years later find out, oh, the company that I used to tip somebody sold all my private information to the next bad agent down the line, or the NSA got the data or something, and then everyone's Bitcoin accounts become unraveled. Is that a legitimate concern, or am I paranoid beyond crazy?
I think that you don't have to probably provide a lot of information on ChangeTip when you're signing up. The only thing that it does is it links other accounts, and that's where your private information is stored from the other accounts. So I don't really see what information you really have to provide that's accurate to ChangeTip.
Not the accounts. Ignore that. Imagine there are no accounts linked. There are Bitcoin addresses which are linked, correct? Because you've sent Bitcoin to fund this account. And that had to be sent from some Bitcoin address. That may be anonymous at the time, but with enough users, you can use that metadata to figure out where that address, where that.
I wouldn't single out ChangeTip here. So when I go make a payment on BitPay, I'm paying them from an address. They're going to be able to link back. If any of their information ever gets stolen, they'll be able to link that information. Any site that's accepting Bitcoin payments right now is going to have that address that you're sending from. So I don't think it's a real, for me, not a concern with change tips specifically doing something. You have to, I would look to see, okay, what information do I have to provide them? If I have to provide them with a Bitcoin address, it would have to be maybe one that I would create specifically for them. So I think it's more about informing or educating the users where if it is a concern from them down the road, that they are properly informed beforehand and know how to protect themselves if that is a concern to them.
You talked about a couple of different alternatives that you're aware of, alternatives to change tip services that allow users to tip one another in Bitcoin. Can you mention a couple of those? Because you mentioned some that I hadn't heard of before.
Sure. So there's three that I know of that I know quite a bit about. ChangeTip uses a system of bots in order to send out the tips. The issue that we see with ChangeTip is that they are now at the whim of Twitter, or that they're at the whim of Reddit that can actually shut down their account. So that's an issue and something that they can never control in the future. So at any time, one of these services that they're using or linking could actually shut down their accounts. There's another company called Cryptive that does it a little bit differently. They actually are not, they hook into, I believe, Twitter right now. They're not as robust yet in what they're linking to, but they take it completely off the system where they're not at the control of the companies like YouTube or Twitter. And I like that system better. They are also more focused on other coins, so you can tip in Doge, you can tip in some other ones, and I'm really excited to see what they're putting out in the future. They're actually from Toronto. They've been around for quite a while. I like the team behind that. And then there's also the Coinbase system, which you have to have a Coinbase account in order to run that. So Zapchain, an example. Zapchain is a new site that kind of like Quora, where you could ask questions and get responses from influential people in the space, and they use the Coinbase system. But I've never set up that system because I don't have a Coinbase account. I don't want a Coinbase account. So that has its limitations that you have to have a Coinbase account in order to accept your tips. So ChangeTip is by far the most prominent one right now. That's the one that's getting a lot of attention. It's got the investment just recently. But I'm a little bit concerned with the bot system that they're using, and that actually they have to rely on the third parties in order to be in good standing with them so that they don't get accounts closed.
So one of the brainstorming ideas, and thank you for sharing Cryptive and Zapchange. I've written those down, so I'll do some more investigative work. But one of the ideas we came up with last week was, well, what if there was something browser-based where instead of tipping through ChangeTip and using these bots, where I guess Twitter and Facebook could shut them down, you know, what if there were a little thing in our browser that just allowed in any comment section to tip another person? I think that was basically the idea. Thomas, do you have anything to add on our...
You could also use the actual Bitcoin blockchain. One of the things about ChangeTip is we really don't know what's going on inside that company, if they have a ledger, if they have a spreadsheet, if they have a database. We know that the tips are going somewhere and then they're trading tokens around, but it's very similar to the Mt. Gox situation where we just don't know what's happening. We don't know if they have a team of programmers or if they have Mark Karpelès working by himself 24/7. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah, so there's reasons why they do it that way. When you're dealing with microtransactions, you got to start thinking about the mining fees. And when you're sending very small amounts, the mining fees might not be worth it to be sending batches of tips to people because you've got to account for the fees. So doing it internally the way that they do it allows them to not have to worry about the mining fees, because if you're sending, Satoshis here, Satoshis there, if you're doing it through the blockchain, you got to really consider the expense of the mining fees. So that's why they do that internally. Also for speed of confirmations and things. To do an internal system, it's much easier for them on the inside in order to send funds back and forth without dealing with confirmations and mining fees. Speaking of a way to do it on the blockchain, I have considered with CryptoKit. So CryptoKit's a Chrome-based Bitcoin wallet, Chrome extension wallet. It installs from the Google Chrome store. And what it enables you to do is actually it pulls addresses from the page and automatically populates them into the wallet system. So what you could actually do with CryptoKit, or what we could do, is on a site where there's Bitcoin addresses, or perhaps under the username that you want to tip, there could be a wallet address. You would just pop open CryptoKit, and it would automatically populate that address from a list, and you can decide who you want to tip. And then with one click, we could set up some buttons there that says, tip a few Satoshis, tip a coffee, tip a drink, and it would actually be going right through the blockchain instead. So we have considered that. Hasn't been something that we've implemented that yet, but it would be a way to make it more decentralized, and it would actually be sending directly from your wallet rather than sending through an internal system.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to see something more decentralized that's more direct, peer-to-peer, instead of going through some invisible black box that I don't really trust.
Yeah, well, that would be a way to do it, but then again, you'd have to be considering the mining fee. So with CryptoKit, we're charging at 0.0001, which, I mean, it's just the mining fee. We don't take any of that, but that's what we do put on transactions right now to, of course, to assure that the speedy delivery of them, and to also support the mining network. So it's not really feasible to be sending somebody, perhaps 10 cents, and now 5 cents of that has to go towards the mining fee. So there's definitely trade-offs in the different systems, but this would be a way where you don't have to rely on a third party in order to send the tips.
I'm not entirely opposed to having a minimum tip amount. I know that one of the selling points for Bitcoin is that we could send any amount, we could send very small amounts, but at a certain point it seems like tip spam. It's very hard to tell when someone's sending you a penny or less than a penny what their true intentions are. Do they really want to tip you, or are they advertising a product, or are they just advertising themselves? It's very difficult to tell.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think a minimum tip, something to make it worth it for them to actually send a quality tip, because yes, there is a lot of tipping spam that we're seeing.
We're also joined by James from littlebitback.com. James heard our conversation last week about a decentralized tip bot, and he'd like to join in as well. James, can we hear you? I know we can see you. Haven't heard you yet. Well, we're going to have to work on that. Might be having some microphone issues here.
Or he's got speaker issues and can't hear us.
Let's see.
Well, Anthony, you've cleared up my questions, and I'm excited to see that Decentral.tv is taking off. Are there any other projects that you'd like to mention?
Sure. Well, something that would also make it easier. So CryptoKit is great for shopping. It's great because you pop it open when you need. You don't have usernames or passwords, so you're not logging into a web wallet and copying and pasting addresses. So, for example, you could go to a BitPay site, make a purchase, and it will populate the address in CryptoKit. Do you have the extension installed there?
Yes, I do. So
yeah,
it opens up right here.
I can show you how this works. The best way is go to rushwallet.com.
Sure.
And I'll show you how it pulls addresses. So rushwallet.com is our HTML5 Bitcoin wallet. It came out after CryptoKit. You move your mouse around on the screen to generate entropy on the client side so that you've got a random Bitcoin wallet. Just keep going till that's filled up.
Nice. I'm loving how this is working. Nice visuals, too. I can see the little dots are added, the different points on the screen, and then
and there's your wallet.
Generated.
So that's basically, we're all about removing friction. So no passwords, usernames. You bookmark your URL when you want to get back to it. And you can think of this as this will work on phones. It looks great on iPhones, on Android. And what you can do now, so you've got an address. If you were to open up CryptoKit now.
No, I would have to fund this wallet. This address doesn't have any.
Yeah, you don't have to do that right now. I can just show you how it populates addresses in CryptoKit. So if you want to open up the CryptoKit extension.
Yes. It's not showing up on the screen share. I have it open, but for some reason Google Screen Share is not showing you that what's showing up.
Cutting it off because of the resolution. Okay. But it would take that address that you
share. Maybe I can do it anyway. Okay. Now
it might not be showing it because it's a dialog box, and the screen share might be designed not to share a dialog box. But it pops up like a little window. It has a wallet. And what does it do then, Anthony?
So what it would do is, and if you go in Rush Wallet there, you'll see the address. So your deposit address that we just created. It'll scour the page for Bitcoin addresses.
Yeah, it found it. It picked it right up.
Yeah, and then in CryptoKit, it will actually list the addresses it finds on the page. You select which address you want to make a payment to, type in the amount, and hit send. So you could have a section where there's multiple people, and you could have addresses associated with the user, and you could select from a list who you want to tip. And then it would send directly from the wallet rather than going through an internal system.
By
So
far,
there is some definite. Sorry.
By far the easiest way to send. It is terrific. A wonderful service, and if you haven't played with it yet, please go download CryptoKit.
And I think that's just a few steps from something that we've been talking about for a long time, which is passive tipping. The idea that you could put $10 in an account, have a program like CryptoKit watch the websites that you read, the videos that you watch, and save the Bitcoin addresses for later. Then it could prepare a sheet like you want to tip 10% here, 10% there, and you could just automatically tip your $10 every month, and you wouldn't have to worry about it, and the content providers would get a percentage based upon how long you enjoyed their content.
Yeah, there's tons of things that can be done. Reoccurring payments can be done from within there. On Rush Wallet, you could basically create a wallet, fund some coins, and then go send by email the address, that link to whoever you want to give it to. So family and friends, they can have their own wallet just by sending them an HTML link. In Rush Wallet, we also have a crowdfunding tool, so people can raise funds. This is basically the first decentralized crowdfunding platform we've got in there too. I don't know if you want to take a look at that, Derek.
Yeah, please.
Is that the one with the circles that go up where you can set a goal?
Exactly. Yeah, we did it for Jason King's for Sean's Outpost when they were raising funds for their outreach center. So if you go back to Rush Wallet.
I think thermometers like that are a great idea for fundraising, and I tried to get my roommate to do the idea. I've been giving the idea away as well, but just the idea that you can take a blockchain address, paste it in there, and then have a success failure bar that can show other people is a great idea, because a lot of fundraising is just filling up those thermometers. You just keep telling people every day, we've got 20%, we've got 30%.
Yeah, yeah. So I think he's creating another one again. I'm stuck on your screen now. I can't see Derek's.
Oh, okay. Well,
there we go. Okay.
Open.
Yeah, there we go. So now if you go to the settings on the top right.
Top right-hand corner.
Yeah, and then in there you'll see the create a fundraiser. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so create a new fundraiser. You can give it a title.
And it's got a fundraiser ID. It puts in there automatically. A YouTube URL. Maybe I want to put a YouTube video in there.
Exactly, and then put the amount that you want to raise.
And then the amount I want to raise is, let's say, 0.5 Bitcoin. And the description, help fight my next parking ticket. Okay.
Yeah, and then create it. And then in your raise, so now open it up. So click on the orange there on the title.
Okay, Derek fundraiser.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
And now you got your fundraiser. So now what you can do is you can tweet this out or send it in Facebook to people, and they'll get that link. And it's completely decentralized. So we don't even know you're creating a fundraiser. We don't know what you're raising. The link stores all the data. So that URL that you have right now, which you could also put into a Bitly link. You see the Bitly links at the bottom there. You can share that. People can. You know what? I'll send some. I'll send some right now.
I was going to say, if anyone's watching at home and you've got your hot wallet handy, I know my hot wallet's running a little low these days because of the whole blockchain thing. But yeah, if you want to scan that QR code on the screen, you can try it out.
You know,
let me try. Let me see if it scans okay.
I thought you were using the Airbits wallet now. I thought you dumped the blockchain wallet.
I have Airbits, but I have a password on it, and I don't know what the password is. So I keep having to go look it up on a piece of paper. I haven't committed it to memory yet. So
if we can go back to Derek's screen again, I can try to send some here.
Oh yeah, and I'll do the world of Paper and eyes here.
So you were trying to raise 0.5, was it, or 0.05?
I think it's 0.5 is what I'm raising here, which is it's just a random amount that I'm not really using this to. I mean, I did actually get a parking ticket. I will use it for illegal events, but it wasn't actually 0.5.
Yeah, so yeah, it's 0.5 you're trying to raise. So I'm gonna let's see it. Wait.
So I'm gonna send. So I just sent some too. And
yeah. And I just sent some too. It should automatically. You may want to refresh again. I'm not sure. Sometimes it does, but it should automatically just go up.
Yay! It's these new contributions. So I did have to refresh the page. Not a big deal, but it did see the payment. So I guess it reads that right from the blockchain? Or?
Exactly. Yeah, and the cool thing is that you don't even need to get all your funds raised before you can start taking it out. So what you can do is now you can sweep that back to your main Rush wallet.
Oh, all right. I can send this along, and I could probably do that. Oh, I can even send some money with it here in the top right corner.
Yeah, now you got 14%. So someone just sent some more.
Cool. And that one did update live. So
yeah, it's weird. It should update live all the time. I've never seen it when it hasn't. But that's what's strange.
Well, it was only like.
Now, what you can do is now go back to if you go back to the tab where your wallet is on, so that created a new tab. Go back to your other tab with Rush Wallet.
Yeah.
Okay, and then if you see the icons in there.
Oh yeah.
Go to your settings again.
All right.
And you'll see the go to Fundraiser Manager.
Fundraiser Manager, got it.
And on the right there, you see those icons there? You want to sweep funds. So if you look there, you see the one that says sweep funds?
Got it. I'll click that link.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you sure you want to sweep this fundraiser? Yes, I'm sure. I'm glad that it...
There you go. And that beep just means it just sent those funds from your fundraiser to your wallet.
Here it is, to my little wallet now.
And the cool thing is that it's still going to show 14%.
Oh, perfect.
I love that beep.
Yeah, the beep.
That's one of my favorite beeps.
Yeah, it is. It means you got money. Yeah. So.
Wow, that is really cool.
Well, and then you can just share that on Twitter, share it with the people you know, and they can just get that link and send it. And the cool thing that I like is that, again, we don't have to authorize what you're fundraising. We have no idea you're even doing it because it's all stored in the link. So we don't have any clue how many people are using our fundraising program, and that makes it it's basically a decentralized fundraising platform.
That is totally amazing. I am blown away. Thank you for sharing that with me. I didn't even know this existed. Thomas, you used it before for a fundraiser?
Yeah, I saw it when it came out. Yeah.
I've got a couple other cool things too. So it's also a invoice payment system. So you can actually create invoices in the same way that you just did there, and then send the link to the person that you want to make the payment to.
That's in the settings section?
Yeah, in the settings, there's two things. There's a fundraiser manager and then the invoice payment system. And you can then track what people owe you as well in the invoicing manager there. So you can do the same thing. You can create an invoice. You give it a title, how much they need to pay you, description, and then you can email the link to them, and they open that up, and they'll have all the information to send the payment. And once it's paid, you'll see that it's paid 100%.
Wow. So okay, now I made a little invoice. That looks about the same. It's got a little percentage meter, thermometer, and address. It's shareable on Facebook, Twitter, and through a shortened Google link. And then you say all the information for this invoice is in the link. So I could just email this to somebody and collect money from them.
Yeah, so there's a bit.ly link underneath, like a shortened link that you can send to people. But in the expanded link, it's all stored. All that data is stored in the URL. So there's no server to store it. There's nothing centralized in the system.
Wow. That is really cool.
And then the last cool thing we did is we did a contest. So on the CryptoKit site, we did a video when we launched the crowdfunding platform, basically, and we hid 2 Bitcoins all through the video. And people were scouring the video looking for these brain wallets, because CryptoKit and Rush Wallet works on brain wallet systems. Okay, so if you go to the CryptoKit here, then go to the contest, you can actually run through the video. You can see it, and there's 30 brain wallets hidden in that video.
Wow.
So we had people on Bitcoin Talk forums going nuts looking for these things because we made them very, very difficult to find. And if you go on the learn more there, so people would watch it, and then there's a site, rushwallet.com/contest, where they could type in the brain wallets that they're finding on the screen and unlock the URL, and then they can take the Bitcoins from it.
Wow. And there's still over 1 Bitcoin left to be claimed.
There is. The biggest one still was never done. And the contest has ended, but we've never taken it out. So it's still, the clues are still there, and people can still actually go looking for it.
Wow, that is very cool. And all these claim prizes down here for transparency's sake. Very good. Wow, that is cool. I am blown away. I did not expect all of that cool stuff today, Anthony. Thank you for sharing.
The brain wallets.
Anthony,
really cool.
can you give us a hint for one of the words for the brain wallet to get 1 Bitcoin?
Sure. The hint I'm going to give you is names.
Okay, great. That's going to help.
Go through the video, and you basically just string words together in that box there, in the entry box there, and you can just guess and keep guessing and guessing, and then once you get it right, it'll says you've unlocked it, and you can then sweep the funds to another wallet. Now, it just shows another way that blockchain can be used, or brain wallets can be used for marketing. For Decentral TV, we're actually going to be having brain wallets hidden on Decentral TV, either in the headlines or in the videos. We'll be announcing 10 Bitcoin in about a week. We'll be doing a 2-week 10 Bitcoin contest where people can just be, by watching the show or watching Decentral TV, they can find the brain wallets in the same kind of way that that's being done there. So it's a great marketing ploy because we've had people watching hundreds and hundreds of times each the video, and then they go on the talk forums and they're sharing their hints, and there's a lot of people are starting to come up with conspiracy theories about where we hid things, and it's like, we'll go check this other video to see if there's a tie in there. They were getting some real crazy stuff to try to figure out those brain wallets there.
That's a great way to encourage more participation. That's something I think we could include more on Bitcoin Talk Show. We've sort of got it going the other way. I've got my QR code up here on the screen. I'm expecting people to pay me. I'm not paying the listeners.
Yeah.
But it should be. Well, I appreciate the thoughts, sharing these ideas. I hope to see a more decentralized way to tip people on the internet. This is one way that we're trying to figure it out. CryptoKit goes a long way to helping people send payments across the internet using Bitcoin. Rush Wallet is really exciting. I'm definitely going to be using that to help out my friends and family and doing some fundraisers. So very cool. Any other questions that we have for Anthony before we let him go and move on to our next guest?
I think we're about good. There's also Zappo is working on a tip bot. There's a strange white Puma tip bot that doesn't seem to work that well, but has about 30 or 40 different very strange altcoins. If you want to tip POW coin, HTML coin, I don't know, a variety of them. You look at the screen and you're like, wow, if this was an exchange, it'd be an exchange, but it's another tip bot. So yeah, there are multiple other tip bots out there that we can try, and we still are hoping for a decentralized one, or one that uses the blockchain.
Well, you guys, you've got me thinking about it. I hadn't really considered too much about a decentralized tipping system, but decentralized anything kind of makes sense for when we're dealing with things like that. So I'll put some thought in it as well, and maybe I'll have some other ideas for it.
Cool. Thank you very much. Cheers, Anthony. Looking forward to seeing more out of Decentral TV.
Thanks for having me.
All right, and we've got some questions and answers. We'll just go through these. Dan Gould agrees that the beep was cool. And he says that if it was a 5-cent tip and it cost him 10 cents, it would be a big deal. So there probably does need to be a lower limit on the tips, which again makes it seem like Bitcoin can't send small amounts, but miners' fees are miners' fees, and we have to deal with these. Dan Gould is going to try out Rush Wallet and CryptoKit, and he says that decentralization has its costs, but those costs are less than the cost of centralization. So watch out for that. And Dan said he was able to send 47 cents minus the miner's fees, so he might have been shooting for 50, so I don't know, maybe a 3-cent fee there. And he hopes Anthony DiOrio a prosperous and honest future. So thank you, Dan, for your comments. And Derek, what did you think? Good presentation, interesting stuff?
Amazing! I am blown away. I am really excited. This is a cool way to introduce people to accepting Bitcoin. If I can just tell them, go to Rush Wallet, move your mouse around the screen, you have a Bitcoin wallet, all you need to do is save that URL, they're going to be like, okay, that was really easy. It's already really easy to get a Bitcoin wallet downloaded, but it does take a couple of steps. It's not that easy. And I'm really impressed, especially visually. It's really fun to see thermometers move. It's fun to hear the beep. It's cool that they're easy to see and share buttons that all the information that you need to open this wallet is stored right in the URL, and then that keeps it decentralized. There's also, if you're not afraid of the centralization, the link, shortened Google or Bitly link, will help you out. But man, this is so cool. I think it's great.
I also liked what he said about reducing friction, making it easy for a user to create an account. And I agree, there is a battle there. There's a battle between saving user information, being secure, or allowing the users to join almost instantly. And
Right.
you really have to decide where you are on that spectrum, and they've chosen the users almost instantly idea, which I like.
I like it too. Make it easy. People, they're going to make mistakes with any new technology. So, that's the word of warning is if you're using these wallets for the first time or any wallet for the first time, play around a little bit so you know what you're doing. Don't put a lot of money in there or out of there. As you saw, we were just passing around a couple of bucks for this example. And if I were to have typed in a number wrong or something were to go wrong, it wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah, don't keep several $1,000s in your hot wallet, because if you make a typo, you could be like that Dogecoin guy who sponsored the Dogecoin car because he sent $5,000 instead of $500, something like that. That extra zero will get you every time.
You could be like Davi, who back in the day put in the dollar amount that he wanted to send, but that ended up being the number of bitcoins that he sent. And he ended up making a rather large donation. I think it was to antiwar.com. So,
Right. So at Rush Wallet it says if you lose this URL, your bitcoins will be lost forever.
Yes.
So
it's important.
add a password for extra security. So you can add an extra password. I'm going to have to look around a little bit at it and decide. I mean, it's really cool that it goes fast. It's just as fast as making a paper wallet over at BitAddress. Basically, it's using a similar kind of mechanism, I think. But I'm a little worried about the security of it. But I think for a quick wallet, for that use of just telling someone about it, it's really good. And I have something to say about tipping. Just tip people more. Just pay the miners. It's easy. Okay, if you're at a restaurant and you put 10 cents on the table, then that's annoying, right? And okay, I'm not your waiter or whatever, and running around and refilling your sweet iced tea or whatever. That's cool. I get it. But it's okay to give 50 cents or whatever. And okay, the mining fees, it costs, and it doesn't go to the person that you're tipping. That's true. But the miners should get paid too. I don't have a problem paying miners. I mean, they shouldn't get paid exorbitantly or whatever, but they're not really. I mean, mining is not that profitable right now, So I think we need to also just remember what the mining fees are there for. Okay, the mining fees are in addition to the block reward. That is true. But still, nonetheless, it's okay to pay the miners too. So we shouldn't lose perspective. I mean, I really like all the suggestions. I'm going to have to go back and watch the video again and absorb what they were talking about because I came in a little late. But I think we also need to remember that we can just use QR codes, and that is pretty simple if we had simpler wallets for people that are totally new to the space. You know what I mean? But we already have a good system. You can already tip people with an address and a QR code pretty efficiently. Okay, it does need to be 50 cents or a dollar or something to kind of be worth it without the miner fees, but it works great if you just do that. So that's fine.
It's also only a matter of time before these tipping companies have to put a bottom number on the tips. 1,000 tips for a penny, that's it's $10. I mean, it's really, that's a lot of tips that could go out for that single penny.
So just like everything, and I think the discussion was, I mean, you're going to pay everything. There is no free lunch in the whole world. It just doesn't exist. So if you pay, you're going to pay for your convenience in either security, data, or something else. And it doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad. It just means you shouldn't forget it. And Change Tip is good for some stuff, and I think Rush Wallet is good for a lot of things, but I don't think anyone should store 5 bitcoins in Rush Wallet. It just doesn't seem like it's meant for that. But for if I'm in a rush, then it's great. I like that idea. So that is a great innovation.
the world has changed with the Snowden revelations, with WikiLeaks, with everything else that we now know. We now know about great concentrations of data. We now know about everything that Facebook knows about us. Google sends me that report once a month telling me everything that they know about me, and every month that report gets longer. People are starting to become aware of things like data retention and anonymizing data. And these are options that companies have. They can be as transparent as they want, or as closed as they want to be, but we on the outside also have the ability to look at them and say, hey, you're being transparent, or hey, you're not being transparent. And
Sure, and that's okay.
it's okay to ask questions, I think. I hope.
Right.
It's
Right,
tough to
like
tell.
Derek is totally in the open, like he said last week, and that's okay too. But everyone should be able. Just want to remind people that there's always going to be a trade-off with the convenience and efficiency of things. But anyway, if we want to talk about something besides tip bots, we can. And
Yeah, what else is
so,
going on?
well, what's going on is that in Germany, localbitcoins.com had to shut down for in Germany. That's what happened. So that's kind of big news. For
That's
Germany at least.
So why was that, Theo? Is there a specific German law that makes something like local
Right.
bitcoins illegal?
Well, we don't know yet. Not really. There's no at the moment there is no specific law that makes it illegal. What basically happened is they got what came out, and it's what I told people. Probably what happened is that they got a letter from this authority called BaFin, which BaFin, BaFin, and it's basically the authority for financial. That's why it has FIN on the end for finance, you know. And anyway, what happens is they just send people letters sometimes and that say like, hey, by the way, you know, you really need a license for this. We just decided because so with the Bitcoin world, it's kind of like you have a business. Oh, you know what? You need a license for that because we decided now that's not really weird. But it is kind of clear what is in the gray area. And I think we don't know for sure, but I have a good hunch that the issue was that on local bitcoins you could also do transactions that were not in person, but you could also there were people offering wire transfer, a so-called SEPA transfer, which is standard European payment area, which is a way to transfer bank funds within the European Union, and it's 24 hours, so it's pretty quick. It's a good competitor to Bitcoin, actually, because it's 24 hours. But anyway, so there were people on there also offering, hey, I will send you a bank wire in exchange for Bitcoins, and they had escrow on local Bitcoins too, right? But there's no KYNC, there's no nothing on local Bitcoins, just as if you were in person. But they're doing this with the banks and stuff, and PayPal and PaySafe cards and all that kind of stuff. So let's look at what is legal in Germany. Well, Bitcoin.de and Kraken are legal in Germany. Yeah, they operate in Germany 100% legally. Why? Well, they're partners with the Fedor Bank, because the Fedor Bank is the only main bank that's friendly to Bitcoin businesses. So what happens is Fedor Bank is totally compliant as a bank, and these places, well, I don't know exactly how Kraken is, but I think it's the same. Bitcoin.de kind of like is able to do their business in the name of Fedor. So they're kind of like borrowing Fedor's license, so to say, is an easy way to explain it. There isn't some, I got into a discussion with a guy on Bitcoin Talk, and he's right. I just translated it wrong. It's all confusing. I'm not a lawyer, but there isn't something called a money transmitter. It's like they just don't have that. It's like all complicated, and it's a little different. But basically, it's really hard to do something like an exchange in Germany. And like Bitcoin.de and Kraken are able to exist because they're partners with a real bank. And that's the only way they're able to exist legally. Other people, so let's go other examples of similar things. That there's been people that have tried to do ATMs in Germany, you know, like legally and register them and whatever, because they want to have it like in a public place next to a normal ATM, you know what I mean? And they had a similar problem where they had it halfway organized, or maybe they even had it on the ground or in a shop, but then the same authority, BaFin, sent them a letter and was like, hey guys, you're going to need this really big license for that. and it's going to cost you a lot of money, and you could do it, but it's going to do it, it's going to be like jumping through hurdles, so they don't end up doing it. And that's the same thing with local Bitcoins. What they said today in an interview on our favorite website, CoinDesk, is they said, hey, we got a letter. Our lawyer said it's a good idea just to stop for now, and we're going to have to figure out how much it's going to cost to get this license and how we're going to do it and if it's feasible, more or less. So I don't know, and I think I think it's interesting to see what's happened. It's very interesting to see what happens. And right now, there already is a discussion. People were saying, well, what's an alternative? Well, an alternative is the Mycelium wallet. So the Mycelium wallet has an integrated market. I showed it on the show a while ago. You have that. So I can have it on my phone, but I have to get it out. So it's a wallet, and it also has integrated it something called ad hoc economy, which is basically local buy and sell orders that you can kind of scroll through. You can also use a proxy with it. You can so if your phone is set up to use Tor or whatever, you can integrate that into the app a little bit. But I don't want to promise anyone anything. I'm not an expert or whatever, but so be careful if you're really trying to set that up. But it does have some options if you take a look at that. So that's pretty cool.
Mycelium is a good workaround, and it also shows how kind of pointless these laws can be. They take down something like local Bitcoins, Mycelium pops right back up. The FBI takes down the Pirate Bay, or the Sweden authorities take down the Pirate Bay, it comes right back up.
Right.
We see it
and
over
so
and
one
over
of the
again.
so I had there are some funny comments. So one thing is the reason that local Bitcoins is allowed to legally do business in Germany is because they're located in Finland. And Finland is in the EU. So they're officially located there, their address, yeah? But Finland itself doesn't have any regulation for Bitcoin right now. It's just kind of unregulated. So, but because they're in the EU, they have to comply to each country's little law. So it's really confusing. It's kind of for someone that, Europe gets really complicated. You got all these little countries, and they all have different laws, and it's in the EU, but you have to do this and that, and it's really a big mess. And basically, if the BaFin, which is the National Authority for Finance, basically kind of clamps down really hard on them, then that would mean, okay, you can use the regulated exchanges that have both Bitcoin.de and Kraken have really good reputations, and Bitcoin.de just went through a big audit, but Bitcoin.de is a regulated peer-to-peer exchange, so it's not one that holds your funds. I think you can imagine what I mean. It matches orders.
That sounds like a great and revolutionary new idea. An exchange that doesn't hold your funds. So
right.
It doesn't need.
Well, no, I'm wrong. Sorry, I'm wrong.
I like my idea better. I'm sticking with my idea. You can go in there, you can trade some Bitcoin for some Dogecoin, but we're not going to hold your Dogecoin. You have to provide your own wallet.
I'm wrong. It does hold your coins. I'm wrong. What it does is you send your Bitcoins to Bitcoin.de, and then you go to the marketplace and it matches the order, and it says, okay, the order is matched, and it says, don't press release until you get the money on your account. And when you get the money on your account, then you release. Because when you get the money... Yes.
There's no way the user could ever mess that up.
Well, but because the banks can reverse the bank transaction if you don't get it. You see what I mean? It's possible to reverse. You could just complain. And there's also a reputation system on there. And it's, like I said, and I think the people that have a bank account at Fedor, they can do the transaction really, if both people had a bank account at Fedor, it's supposed to be really fast, but
Theo,
anyway.
you are laying a lot on the table. Where do I begin? First of all, the Germany.
Well, you're gonna have to move to Germany if you really want to understand this situation, Derek. That's your first move.
Well, but Bitcoin is really popular in Germany, so that's also a weird dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is weird because Germany has one of the first places. I think it's a neighborhood in Berlin.
Yeah,
where
Kreuzberg.
Yeah, where Bitcoin is used for laundry shops and coffee shops and pubs. So you can have a real Bitcoin economy there. I think even taxi cabs can be powered that way. So, all right, how does local Bitcoin shut down in a country? How does that work? Doesn't
Okay,
it?
like it works like this. You go to the web page and you want to look for ads or whatever, and it says, "Sorry, we're shut down in Germany," and the whole escrow service and placing new ads in that country won't work. So, I mean, I guess theoretically, um, anyone, I'm not suggesting you do anything illegal. If you
I am. This is
theoretically,
what you
yeah,
should do.
okay. Well, if I wanted to do something illegal, I guess I could like go over and say I'm in France, like with a proxy or something, and write in the title, "This offer is for this town in Germany. Please
It
meet
would
me
be
there,"
really
or
hard
something.
for people to use the search feature to find people
Yeah,
who are actually close to them.
You could
it
just
wouldn't
start
it wouldn't
listing on
work.
Craigslist that you're in Germany and you want to sell bitcoins, and if enough people
Yeah.
started using Craigslist and maybe keywords like local bitcoins with no space, that would probably work pretty quickly. But again, everyone has to change their habits and practices if you want
Right. So
What
I
if
think this is going to
Bitcoin
get
just grew a pair and said, "F you, German government, we're going to operate anyway"?
See, now
well.
now
It's
you're
too late.
describing Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so
they're
this is
courageous.
why.
That's what companies should be doing. They should be saying, "Who the hell are you to tell my customers that they're not allowed to engage in free enterprise with each other? What the fuck?"
Okay, so I mean I agree with you as far as they should be able to do whatever they want, and I don't think this is a
We are
solution right
human
now.
beings,
But
just trading among each other freely. Who are
okay, so
these
this is
German
what.
officials who think they?
So we can only speculate to what's been going on, but this is what the speculation has been. From let's just see it from the overlord government point of view. What's been going on is it's not really Bitcoin that's the issue. The issue is people have been stealing stuff and had cash, so euros, and with that euro they go to local bitcoins and buy bitcoins
So what?
because the government. Okay, for
It's
you,
money
so what?
laundering, Derek. It's
I'm
money
just
laundering.
saying, I don't want to get into an ideological discussion about if it's right or wrong. I don't want to. I'm just
It's
saying
not
this
like
is the
people do
government's point
stuff
of
to
view.
stop them from stealing stuff. That's the problem. Stealing stuff is wrong.
Right, exactly. Yeah, sure,
Burning
totally.
money
It's
is
the
not.
wrong. It's right. It's the wrong point. It's not it's just a symptom of something wrong. It's not really, going to solve anything. I totally agree. So it's definitely not going to solve anything.
I mean, it sounds
But
like people who suck at catching bad guys are like, well, let's get the bad guy when he's at the bank.
So look,
Like,
this has only been. I think this has been like 1 or 2 days. No, yeah, one day. I think sometime on Monday, about noon, the news came out. So this is really new, pretty new. This is going to get interesting when it's like a month later. A few weeks and a month, because then, the natural economy will somehow appear. Like you said, either it's going to be on Mycelium, or it's going to be people on Craigslist, or it's going to be dark web, or I don't know, whatever the hell, because people are going to figure out a way to transact how they were transacting. It's just a matter of what the workaround is. They're not going to be able to prevent anyone. And, and local bitcoins, well, yeah, sure. Well, what they could do is, I mean, they could just relocate to an offshore existence, and then it would be really difficult. I mean, what are you going to do? Block the website? I mean, they're not. That's a bigger step. That's like another authority, and they're so bureaucratic that it's like would take forever, and
I want
Or
anyone who's listening who has a company who says, I'm going to be the courageous person who's going to, stand up to the government. It's like, will you please? Will you please? I'm begging you guys, have some courage. Because, like, someone's got to do it. Someone's got to stand up to the governments who say, you're not allowed to do that. You can't trade Bitcoin. We don't want you doing that. Shut that down. And you need to stand through more than just an angry letter. Okay, you get a letter that says, oh, I don't want you to do this. All right, why don't you wait for the next letter to come, or the third letter, or the lawsuit, or something? Can you wait for an actual threat and not just a piece of paper before you bend to their will?
Well, to give them credit, they said they're, quote, looking at what they can do. They haven't totally given up, but they say they've temporarily shut down. So basically they're trying to figure out, basically I think it's like this. They're trying to figure out, is it worth the money to go through the process of getting a license And if it's not worth the money, what are we going to do? Are we going to shut down in Germany, or are we going to do a workaround or whatever?
No matter what the license costs, it could be $1. It's not worth it because the next license is going to come. If you submit to them, if you say, yes, sir or madam, you have total authority over me, and you get to decide whether or not I can do business with my friends and neighbors on planet Earth, well, then you've already submitted to them. That if they say, oh, now you need the next license, or you need the next license, you got to jump through every hoop they offer you. No, you are not their property. You as a CEO or some company owner, I mean, you're a human being with rights. You can't be pushed around by some stranger who just sends you an angry letter saying, oh, you need my authority, or you need my endorsement.
Yeah, I agree.
That's baloney.
We can try to get the local Bitcoins owner guy on here. I forgot his name. I haven't met him in person, but he's around in Germany and Europe all the time. He's this pretty nice guy. I've seen interviews with him. And I think that probably I agree with you. He might even agree with you on some level, but I think that it's just, like a real pragmatic thing. Okay, what are we going to do now? We have this thing where we're complying in other countries or whatever, or halfway complying. So what are we going to do now? And so that's why I think it's really interesting. Let's everyone, take a look and see what happens in weeks and a month or longer. And what are people going to do? We are going to need, and there's also another thing that's really interesting that we had also during more of the Mt. Gox time is that Bitcoin is meant to be peer-to-peer.
Right.
We don't need centralized places. The local Bitcoins facilitated peer-to-peer transactions, but it was also a central point. It provided an escrow, or it provides an escrow service for local transactions. It does make it easy. But if you use the escrow service at local Bitcoins, it is still a central point of failure, because what it is that you send your Bitcoins to local Bitcoins, and then you meet the person and they have cash. And then you have to figure out how you're going to do it. But I would say something like the person puts the cash on the table, and then you send the Bitcoins to their local Bitcoins account, and you say, see, it's there, I have this code XYZ, and they say, oh yeah, that's the code, and you have the cash, and then it's over. So they facilitated it. They made it. It is a service that makes it easier. It doesn't mean you have to do that in order to use Bitcoin in a peer-to-peer way, but we don't have economies that are developed enough right now because everything is really young, so we're depending on that. So this is interesting to see, and you can see how fast a government can just be like, hey, that's not allowed today. Boom. It was really out of nowhere. No one expected it, So it's really like government could just be like, hey, boom, hey, that's not allowed. Okay, so what are we going to do? Well, I think that a workaround will be found pretty quickly, is my prediction. What quickly means, I think like 1 or 2 months or something. We'll see. I mean, I checked on Monday the offers on Mycelium. It wasn't a whole lot more in Germany, but you can. I will. In the meantime, there is like a map, there's a web page, and you can see the offers that exist. You can't use it on a browser, but you can see what offers exist on that system, and it's interesting to see what if they grow in a country where local Bitcoins is not allowed, where it was allowed. It would be interesting to see if that's true, or maybe there's a dark website. I have no idea at this point.
The real problem that I see here is competition. How is local Bitcoins going to compete with a theoretical competitor that comes along and does what the Silk Road does, puts their website on Tor, makes it only accessible through Tor, has a decentralized escrow system, perhaps not holding the private keys, maybe using multi-sig or another new technology? How is local Bitcoins, the good company that's acting legally, going to compete with this other company that, like Derek's saying, like Uber's saying, like these other companies are saying, this is a technology. If you don't let us do it, someone else is going to do it. Now, we're trying to work with you. We're trying to be good guys, but you're chasing us out here. Why shouldn't we just go underground? Why shouldn't we just make it impossible for you to catch us and then continue running our business, probably not paying any taxes or any fees? It sounds much worse.
Their own competition. They should just split their company, have 2 heads, and then one goes private, in the dark, operating through Tor. The other one stays around and tries to comply, right? And then they get to complain, like, well, look at this other company. They get to do all those things, and they get away with it, and why do we have to follow these rules? It would be great if they had fake competition with themselves, because they could really provide the alternative that people really need. We need a decentralized...
They do happen to have access to their own software, their own resources. They know how to run a local Bitcoins company. They would be the ideal competition with themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Except they could do it... I hate saying outside the law, because that sounds like they're doing something bad, but really they're helping customers. They're helping people exchange Bitcoin, and that's what they want to do. And exchanging Bitcoin in itself is a peaceful act every time, no question. And like what Theo was saying earlier, yeah, there's bad people who use Bitcoin and do money laundering, and that might be part of something negative, but the theft or the actual crime that they've committed is the bad part. The Bitcoin exchange, there's no, unless they're stealing Bitcoin, that would be theft. An exchange, a voluntary exchange where people say, here's dollars or here's euros and I want the Bitcoin, or the other way around, that is a totally peaceful act, no matter who you are.
It's like what Davi said a long time ago, that the only problem with Bitcoin is when fiat gets involved. When you're trading Bitcoin for fiat, when you're using the old legacy system, that's where we keep running into this know your customer rules, or they're money laundering into Bitcoin, all these old world ideas. And as far as what you're saying, Derek, about legal or extra legal or whatever it is, remember the Hacker Manifesto. This is our world now. The beauty of the baud, the electron and the switch. There are natural laws, which are like nature and gravity and how fast you can send an electron across a certain field. And then there are human-made laws. The natural laws, the digital laws, what can be done will be done.
Yeah, and I encourage people to break those laws every day. I'm holding a couple of my punishments here, some threats that I got from lawmakers, or law enforcers rather. Who, there are all these laws that are surrounding us, and I know it's illegal to do this, but I am going to suggest that you break some. It feels good, and your conscience knows better than those people in Washington, D.C. or Frankfurt or wherever they are located. My conscience told me there was no one at the red light. I went. I don't care. Yeah, you run that red light. Sorry. Use your head, because you know what's right and wrong. I wouldn't tell someone, oh, go run a red light and kill people. Obviously, use your head. And don't use Bitcoin to hurt people. Just, transact. I mean, I wouldn't trade with someone who I knew stole something. Like, I wouldn't help facilitate money laundering. I think that's wrong.
Also, it's how much money you're sending. If you're trading tens of thousands of dollars, it might be a little fishy. If you're trading a few $100 or $20 or something, I don't know the real cost of that.
Okay, so check it out. I found, this is a map on my screen share of the offers that you can get through Mycelium. I mean, some of them are not up to date, but it's still interesting to see.
I want to say right away, look at that hotspot. Derek, is that New Hampshire? That kind of north U.S. type of thing there? Nice work. Again.
Hold on. I'm zooming in here. No, that was like America, but, well, New Hampshire, I don't see anything to, hold on. We'll see if I find you, Derek. I'm gonna, reveal you on air here. Wait. There's a guy named Jasper.
Cool.
New Hampshire, and here we go. Hober. You probably know him, if that whoever he is. In Albany, you can also
got on there. How should I join myself? I had Mycelium at one point. I don't think.
Well, you just put it on your phone, and then you scroll down to the very bottom of your wallet, because it's not like in the automatic. And then it says buy, and then it says buy sell.
I still have Mycelium. I see it says buy sell. There I am.
Click that, and then scroll left or right, and then you should see everything. You can make an order. You can see people buying and selling. So let's see if I can zoom out here.
I see Jasper and Hober here. They're the closest.
Right. So I have never used that system, and I have no idea how it works. But
what do I do? So here this is what it looks like on my screen.
Yeah, I know how that. I mean, I'm just not sure if there's like an escrow on it or whatever. But
I know you know what it looks like, but this is for the benefit of others.
I'm so sorry.
Well, and those are all the people that you can buy Bitcoins from locally, right? And this
Okay,
continues to work
exactly.
even though local Bitcoins has been shut down. This is a totally
Exactly.
different system.
So yeah, but this is also going to get interesting because some of the developers of Mycelium live in Austria. I don't know if it's like a registered company. I'd have to all look into it, but anyway, so this week we've got, you can see the big cities like Frankfurt around Frankfurt area 9, Munich 7. In Berlin, there's like no one offering, but it's probably because they're probably were using local bitcoins or whatever. And Hamburg 6. So you got concentrations in these metropolitan areas. So we can look at it maybe next week and see if it's grown. If this is doubled or tripled next week, we can say, okay, maybe people that were using local bitcoins have then switched over and are now using Mycelium instead. But it's still an interesting. I like the map. You can really visualize.
I do love maps. It's a great way of presenting information, and I'm used to
Right.
looking at these maps in a different context and thinking about all kinds of different things. But to see Germany buy Bitcoin for sale is a fascinating new way to look at Germany, and to see Poland, France, the other countries around there,
Right.
and who's buying and selling. It's a totally new way to imagine the world.
How
And just
close
Exactly.
are you in on that map? Are you able to see the difference between East Berlin and West Berlin? And
Yeah, sure. I'll go back to it. Yeah,
It's
you
been
can
a
zoom in.
long
You
time.
can.
I don't even think
Okay,
they took the wall down, man.
no, but I want to know if there's a difference in their Bitcoin users.
You mean in the East Germany, ex-East Germany? You mean, or what? What do you mean? Well, that's. So if you see my map, do you see my little cursor?
We see you again, Theo.
Oh, whoops. Well, I'm gonna do screen share then. You don't see my cursor. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a show about high-tech things, and we're really good at using software. So just a
Well,
second.
you curse, so maybe you're the cursor that we're looking at.
Exactly. So, okay, can you see my screen share now?
I do.
Do you see the cursor? So around here was, or more like here, was East Germany. And there still is some usage. Let's click this 8 around Magdeburg. Okay, we can zoom in here. Let's see where we're. Oh, there is some use in. There are some offers in Berlin.
All right.
See, so there are offers in Berlin. Different
So what
ones.
do I have to do for this app so that I'm on the map? I have to sell Bitcoin, right? I gotta be one of
I
these.
think you can put a buy order too. I think scroll left and right on your app, and I think it has a buy and sell option. So I'm going to zoom out again, and we're going to check out another city.
I did see that some of the people were buying Bitcoin on your map.
Yeah,
We
sure.
also-
That's the color. It's color coded. I forgot what color each one means, but like a green one. Let's see, a green one is buying, and a yellow one is selling. So you can see, and the blue symbol is just a whole bunch of buy and sell orders on top of each other, and it's mostly in these metropolitan areas that I was talking about. So there is a decent, interest in Germany, because look over here at France. But that doesn't mean that France is not interested in Bitcoin. That could be because of language. I don't know if Mycelium is translated into French, and you've got another dynamic with language there. People really like to speak French. I'm not against speaking French. I'm just not real. I can speak a bit of French too, but you need to speak French to do business in France. Let's just say that. And so you can go over here to Netherlands, which is a lot smaller country, but you still have decent interest. Same thing in Belgium a little bit. It's also a pretty small country. I guess that Belgium is probably a little bit bigger than New Hampshire. I don't know. It's not that big. England has a few orders. Let's go over here. Look, this is great. So what we're going to do is we're going to go somewhere where Bitcoin is banned. Here's Russia. We've got 6 orders in Moscow, so that's not bad. I mean, there's probably other ways they're, trading Bitcoins too, but you've got, a few orders in Moscow, even though Russia has basically been extremely hostile to Bitcoin. So that's also really interesting, in my opinion, to check out what's going on.
I wanted to see how easy it was to add myself to this map. I just did it. So if you go to New Hampshire now, you can see Derek J is on the map.
Okay, let's see if it updates that fast. I don't know. We're so Mycelium.
Unfortunately, I want to remind everyone the Mycelium client is only on Android right now, so this is not something that me and my iPhone people can do.
Oh shit!
You
That could
Android
be
people enjoy it. So
yeah. Hey, Mycelium people, you need to get on that. I mean, the Mycelium people are pretty cool. They've also got that that thing where it's like a USB stick and it prints out paper wallets. You just put the USB stick into the printer. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, it was nice.
something
Okay, let's
about
see if it's-
entropy or something, but yeah.
That's it. Yeah, something like that. But that's a cool development. Jasper?
No, you know my name.
Oh, yeah, but I don't know what, maybe you didn't. I don't think it's on there yet. Maybe I have to reload.
Aw. Yeah, I guess maybe you didn't hit refresh or something.
I didn't hit refresh. Yeah, sorry.
Live update, man.
That would be cool.
While we're
I mean-
while we're still on this topic, we have a question from Christopher Franco, who makes Franco Coin and is working with Ribbit now.
Hey, what's
And,
up, Christoph?
Hey, Christopher. And so he say, hey, Chris. Chris says the Franco Collective is willing to escrow for German Bitcoin consumers. How would they use us? And I think this goes back to things that we talked about when the Silk Road, the first Silk Road, went down. Is that the Silk Road wasn't just a quote-unquote illegal market. It was also an escrow service and a reputation service. And what I said at the time, and I'll say it again, the escrow and the reputation ideas need to be separated from this illegal market. Then they could stay up after the illegal market goes down. We can cycle in another illegal market or even a legal market that could then use these escrow and reputation-based services, which could be their own separate towers of information. We don't it's convenient to combine everything together, but obviously we lose everything when they take it down. So if the Franco Collective had a generic escrow system that something like Mycelium Wallet could tap into just by linking to, or even local Bitcoins could use if they wanted to, or a local Bitcoins competitor like we've been talking about, reputation system separate, escrow system separate. So I'd like to see. What do you guys think?
Hey, Derek, I found you.
Woo!
Ah.
Can you see my screen share still or not?
I can see it. There I am on the map, and I'm
Right.
limited to selling no less than $10 worth and no more than $1,000 worth. However, it doesn't limit the number of transactions that I can perform. So if you're looking for
Okay,
more.
so I'm going to come by and visit you right now on the internet. Okay, so wait, I'm zooming in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Hey.
see, so this is cool with Street View. So with Street View, I mean,
You're gonna come to my house?
It's gonna get really creepy really fast.
Yeah, look, see, yeah, but I'm gonna come to your house on Street View, but I don't have, it doesn't have Street View. But I'm just saying, I've done like little, vacations like this, just like a 5-minute vacation. Like you can head over to North Korea. Doesn't have a lot of Street View, but you can go to Tiananmen Square with satellite at least,
You just gotta pull your little guy. They have Street View. You just pull the guy.
I think it's not a Google Maps. It's a different system.
It's a Mycelium, like importing Google Maps. But we can see your street, and this little house next door to you. It looks like, or that is your house. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then, so are those the neighbors that knocked out, like wrote shit about you on those signs or something?
Oh, it's so funny. Yeah, we have a great neighborhood here in Keene. There were some who were supportive of the police during the Pumpkin Fest riots that made national news. There's a woman who just down the street made local news throughout New Hampshire for threatening a 10-year-old boy with a knife. She's one of the neighbors who hates the freedom activists here. Anyway,
that was such an unsurprising story, or such a shocking story when the pumpkin riots really did go down. Because earlier, I know you guys have been protesting the Bearcat, which is like a military APC vehicle that had come into town, and the police had said in their defense, "We need this for the Pumpkin Festival," and everyone laughed, and they're all like, "Oh, the Pumpkin Festival!" And then look at it this year, legitimate riots, and I'll bet they brought that Bearcat out, didn't they? Proud as heck, I'm sure.
They did. It was staged there, but they didn't use it, fortunately.
It didn't use. It's just staged. Well, why don't we just make one out of cardboard? It'd be cheaper. We could recycle the metal on the one they have.
Well, it was. I'm for painting it pink. I wish that they would allow us to paint the Bearcat pink for breast cancer awareness. And for some reason, I don't think
it's still not going to make much of a difference when it's rolling over you in the street if it's pink or not. I mean, it's a nice image, but
I think they'd be less inclined to use it.
Maybe so. Give it a shot.
Fun.
No,
It's not
anything will work. I mean, obviously, you've seen the news here that in Berkeley, for the last 2 nights, police have been tear gassing protesters and forcing them to leave the streets. I've seen videos of them marching forward with batons. They do this kind of baton charge. Looks very dangerous.
yay, police! More!
No, Derek. The right of the people to petition their government for a redress of grievance, peacefully petitioning, and that's what they're trying to do. They have grievances.
They must be crushed.
It's one way. Let's see what else we've got. We've got another question from Franco. He says, why don't they, and I think he means localbitcoins.com, why don't they just open source their idea and let anyone run with it and help the idea win? And I think this is something that's happening in Bitcoin. If they were really only interested in Bitcoin, they'd be fine. But I think a lot of people want to make money in Bitcoin now. And they're very worried about their idea getting stolen or someone else working into their space. And there's a lot of control issues when you're trying to make money. And maybe you're not just making it on the merits. Maybe you just don't have the best product. Maybe you just want to make money.
Well, let's do it themselves.
That's what we did suggest. They could have a rogue, underground local Bitcoins group similar to maybe Google X. Local Bitcoins X.
Yes, I have a question from the chat. Michael asks, can a side chain be made to handle tipping only? Also, can there be a side chain that handles transactions and be mineable for home-based computers only?
I've heard about more CPU-only coins coming out. That is a thing, and that would be for home miners. There is an idea where perhaps instead of having a black box like Mt. Gox or ChangeTip, you could actually just have an altcoin, and you could just keep everyone's balances internally as an altcoin, and you could just mine the altcoin, and then you could release all the information, and everyone could just analyze the altcoin in the same way they analyze the Bitcoin. But no one's done that as of yet. It's very much easier to make your own ledger database system internally that's centralized. What, Theo, are you going to say?
I was going to say that I'm not a sidechain expert, and I don't even know if sidechains are going to work. But it seems like a lot of people want them to work, and they're spending a lot of energy on it, so maybe it will work somehow. But I think, from what I understand, a simple application like tipping seems feasible enough. Really complicated stuff with lots of input-outputs that are even not. So a side chain is like, this is Bitcoin, and then there's the side chain. And imagine that you had a side chain with other inputs from other stuff outside. It's like a side of the side. That, I don't know, that seems like there could be a lot of problems when you come back to the main ledger. But if you just had a real simple thing, like for tipping, it seems feasible. But then again, you'd have to figure out, is the sidechain mined, or is it just like 10 authorities that write the ledger, or how you do all that? So then you go into the whole centralization thing again, if you want that, if it's okay. So there's no real way around it. The more convenient and the more, normally the quicker it is, not always, it's going to run into some issues with security and being durable. But what I encourage everyone to do is just tip more. Just tip more and don't worry about miner fees. Just tip $1.50. Okay, in some countries $1.50 is a lot. I get it. That's cool. You don't have to. But if $1.50 isn't much for you, then just do it and pay the miners. The miners are mining. That's fine. It's not like they're getting free money, so that's okay. You know. Why should you do that? Well, okay, you're paying more, but you're not risking your Bitcoins, one, by using a central service, and two, you're giving less data to whoever is collecting it because you're not using a central service either. So it's up to you, you know, what's better for you, what's more convenient, what's worth your time.
You do lose access to that tipping back function where these existing tip bots right now, you can tip kind of freely, and you can tip all the celebrities you want because you know they're not going to accept your tip, and you get the money back. If you actually tip someone's real Bitcoin address, money's gone. So that is a minor issue. You could tip with something like Coinbase that allows you to email people. If they don't accept it, I think you get the tips back. And another point on the side change is that what I've heard is that it would require an incredible change to Bitcoin to allow the side chains to integrate. So they are full force. I think it's called Blockstream. They're developing the side chain idea. But if they get to the end and the Bitcoin developers won't let them in, I think we'll see sidechains move to Litecoin or Dogecoin or random coin. Some other coin will say, hey, we'll be sidechain coin. Like, that's interesting to us. It might not be Bitcoin. We don't know. So let's see. Derek's got a map of Mycelium, and it looks like he might not be with us, but we'll go through it.
Talk about the Pirate Bay?
Are we going to? We can. I've got the website here. Of course, yesterday on my
back down.
Back down? What do you mean? As of how long ago?
I heard it was like, oh my God, Swedish feds shut us down. We're down.
Hey, this is also going to be a real interesting test for ChangeTip. I mean, at ChangeTip, so I heard on YouTube, on Twitter, I don't know how much. I think Cointelegraph did a thing on it that it said supporters of Pirate Bay are change tipping to support the cause, basically, you know.
Cool.
And I mean that's cool because it also not only are they, you know, tipping Bitcoin, but then they're really using the leverage of change tip because it's social too. So people see, you know, in the social media, hey, they got like hashtag Pirate Bay or whatever. So that's pretty cool.
And I think this is a big pushing point for ChangeTip. What are they going to do? We saw that PayPal shut down transactions to WikiLeaks. PayPal shut down transactions to Snowden. The existing payment systems, which are centralized, legalized, and controlled, don't allow you to tip people like the Pirate Bay.
Exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to say. Let's see what happens. Let's see.
They better let those Bitcoin payments through. I mean, why wouldn't they? These people obviously want the payments to go through. You can't accidentally send Bitcoin to the Pirate Bay.
Well, if a guy with a big gun knocks on your door and says, give me your database,
but
are you
I
gonna
don't think that ever actually happens. They always wait for the times before that. They wait for some.
But remember, Derek, this has already changed. ChangeTip used to be a very small company with less than $1 million. Now they're a company with more than $3 million. So if this tipping the Pirate Bay thing could somehow reduce their ability to pay back that money with a great bonus and additionally tons more money, they're going to have to change their minds. They have different concerns than they previously
So
did.
that's what exactly. That's totally why I brought it up because I think this is a test. Let's see what happens. You know, on the one hand, you have major leveraged action by, you know, the people are tipping, and it's public, and so you've got the, like, you know, social viral aspect of it, you know, and that's what ChangeTip is supposed to be about, and that's cool. But on the other hand, you have, okay, we know exactly who tipped, when they tipped, and if they don't.
It is again that private data, that pesky private data.
And what if whoever is in control of that account, that Twitter account or that YouTube account you're tipping, doesn't withdraw in time, and then that account gets closed because it's illegal? I mean, come on, let's be serious. If Osama bin Laden opens a ChangeTip account and people start tipping him, are they going to close it or not?
If he comes back from the dead and opens a ChangeTip account. Yeah.
I know, but you know what I mean, or Elvis or whoever, you know. But you know what I mean. You know, this is the test. This is a stress. Right? Wow, you've got it handy. This is a stress
Elvis
test.
lives.
But people, if you want to support Pirate Bay, just send them Bitcoin directly.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that hard.
But it is also, and then also send out a tweet telling people that you did that. Because what you're pointing out, Theo, is something that I think is cool and different about ChangeTip that I hadn't realized before. That is, like, when you make a charitable contribution, you also get to brag about it. You can be like, hey, everyone, you should give money to the Pirate Bay. I just did that. Now you can too. And
that social wave can help you spread tips, but it can also turn on you if you stop them from taking tips. So you better watch out. It can bring you up and it can take you down. Now, I did hear on the Herald Sun that the popular torrent sharing website, the Pirate Bay, is back online. And I can confirm that if you go to thepiratebay.ee, yes, it's a different extension because they're in a different country now or whatever. it is and does seem to be back online. So, for what
Cool.
it's worth.
Oh, that's good news.
Right, so that could be a use for this so-called decentral or whatever you want to call them tip bots.
Wait
or
a minute.
tipping services.
Help me understand, why is the Pirate Bay back up and the Silk Road didn't have the same kind of success?
Well, I can tell you one thing that I do know is that the Pirate Bay, the whole website, is like not a gigabyte or something. It's just like a bunch of magnet links that link to torrent stuff. So
I think it's also a matter of the way the Pirate Bay was set up with a whole group of people working on it, where the Silk Road seems more, at least from the outside, what we can see as one person working on it or a very small group of people. The Pirate Bay was a larger group, plus they've had this problem before. They've been attacked in this way before, and they developed this system where they do have multiple websites all over the world, and they don't actually store the data. They store a very small amount of metadata, and then the magnet links aren't even torrent files, so the magnet actually goes out and gets you the torrent, so you're not even holding the weight of a torrent file or the disk space of a torrent file. So it has become more distributed.
I see. Are there some lessons that we can learn from this? Are there examples that people could use if they want a drone-proof website?
Oh, they also, interesting you mentioned drones, they developed a version of the Pirate Bay that can run on a drone. They had a system where what they were hoping for was a series of drones in the sky flying over a city that would provide a Wi-Fi type network where you could get the magnet links to the torrents, because again, it all comes down to simplification. They made their website simpler, they made the torrents simpler with the magnet links, and they just kept making it smaller to where you could fit the Pirate Bay on a flash drive. And once they did that, I imagine, I don't know their actual operations, but that they set them up in multiple countries, and they have a bunch of people ready to pull the switch when they need to, and yesterday they needed to. And today, what did the Swedish government really do? They raided the server room, they pulled a bunch of servers, they ruined a website. It's back up. What was the point of your operation? I don't understand.
What was the point, I wonder?
Strength, power. It looked good in the press. It looked like they really did something. I remember I reported it yesterday. Oh my gosh, the Pirate Bay's down. And then today, as I pretty much expected, but you never know till it happens, I happily reported the Pirate Bay is back up. What did you guys do? And this is just like with the Silk Road. Remember how excited the FBI was, what a great operation it was, how many people they brought down, and then the Silk Road 2.0.
They pat themselves on the back for like a month, though.
I know, the Silk Road 2.0 came out, they took that one down, what a great operation it was, they had an inside man, how smart they are, and then there's another Silk Road, or there's I don't know what it's called now, but some new website, I'm sure, popped up the next day. What are you guys really doing? Like, you have to, long term, understand this, but it's really just about making headlines, making the movie industry and the music industry feel better about themselves. Like, we're trying, it's not working, but we're trying. It's all just emotions.
And the Pirate Bay, I guess what's their big thing is movies. So the entertainment industry is upset.
Yeah, the entertainment industry is definitely upset. They haven't been able to compete with this free model of the Pirate Bay. They're not even really trying. They could have.
Bitcoin could help with is you could have Bitcoin transferable tickets. That's one thing I haven't seen develop yet. But the entertainment industry, not just movies, but concerts and any venue that sells limited amounts of seats, you could issue nominal amounts of Bitcoin from a particular address, and you'll be able to recognize, no matter if I trade my ticket to you, Thomas, or if I sell it to Theo, if he has possession of that Satoshi, I can trace that back to the initial sale and say, yeah, that came from ABC Ticket Company. Yep, that's a legitimate ticket. You can come into our event because it will be limited.
So it could basically be like a decentralized StubHub. And yeah. I know it's a slogan here, and BitPay seems like a cool company, but their slogan is way cooler than them, and that slogan is decentralized all the things. decentralize all the things.
Sorry, I went away. What were you guys talking about? These tickets?
We're talking about the entertainment industry and how they're upset about the Pirate Bay, but also we can decentralize more. We've already decentralized music and movie distribution through torrents and other websites. And Derek was saying that we could decentralize something like StubHub by having the ticket be a Satoshi or a colored coin or whatever, and then you have the ticket, you go to the show.
Exactly. You can use already today. You can use colored coins, make a token on Counterparty or Viacoin or whatever.
Can I get an example? Can we like sell tickets to the next Bitcoin Talk Show?
Yeah, we can. I mean, just
a world practical example of this.
Sure. I mean, well, I made a video about how you can vote using the blockchain, and I use tickets basically, well, tokens, but it's the same idea. So
where can I find that video?
On World Crypto Network, none other. Transmission number 12 or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, it's pretty simple, so I'll just give you the rundown about how I did it in the video. I created 2 tokens. One token is called member, and one token is called vote. And first, I distribute the tokens called member, because we're voting. We're not going to a concert, right? So all the people that are members in my club get a member token. And then I can go to this thing where it says dividends. Yeah, distribute dividend. And everyone that has a member token gets a dividend. And I can say, I already have this other token in my same wallet called vote. And so I just say dividend, 1 vote for every person that has a member. And so then all the members get 1 vote. And then I made 2 other addresses. The address 1 is yes, and address 2 is no. And then if you like it, you send it to yes, and if you don't like it, you send it to no.
Got it.
And it's all on the blockchain recorded, and it's transparent. I mean, it still doesn't prevent anyone from buying or selling votes, but you know, we have that today anyway, so that's not the that's not the thing. But at least
it's illegitimate. I mean, that's
right. But the cool thing is that it works better than the like voting machines that you have now, like in Florida or whatever.
What do you mean better?
I just mean, like, I don't know. I haven't. Well, to be honest, you know what? I have never.
Anything works better than those voting machines. They're
exactly.
not transparent.
The transparency is the difference there, though.
Exactly, the transparency and the entry level. So this means that anyone, for a very low cost, can set up that system, and with very little technical know-how. It might have sounded a little technical what I said, but it's really not. That's why I made the video. So the story is that the night before I made the video, I was at a Bitcoin meetup, and someone said, and I said, yeah, well, you're this group, blah, blah, blah. Well, if they wanted to be more in favor of Bitcoin, and they're a Bitcoin group, why don't they vote using the blockchain, or why don't they have multi-signature, or what I mean, just at least as an example. I mean, if I'm going to be a lobby group, wouldn't I want to show that I'm using myself as a use case? That would be beneficial, in my opinion, right? Yeah. And they said, yeah, okay, yeah, but you know, we're a lobby group and we're not programmers. We're not here to like develop software. We're a lobby group. And I said, okay, I get you. That's cool. Hey, I'm not really a programmer either. I figure out how to use stuff, but I don't know how to really, you know, program the whole thing. So I get that. But you know what? I bet you I can do it with just already stuff that exists. They said, okay, well then email it to me and I'll take a look. Okay, fine. So then I just did the whole video. And it's really easy to understand, in my opinion. I mean, maybe...
Did they use it?
No, not yet, but I'm going to meet them tomorrow, I think, so we'll see if they... So if anyone wants to come to Frankfurt, there's a Bitcoin meetup in Frankfurt tomorrow, and we can talk about it. Now, I don't want to... I think that this person meant well, and I really like what they're doing, too, so it's no big deal. It's just that, you know... I think what that was an example of the guests that were on before me, which I have to rewatch the video to get all of it with the crypto kit and the Rush wallet. There's a lot of tools already out there, you know. It's just a matter of like, and that's really great that I'm really happy that like after last week's video, that a lot of people were kind of like negative about that. People were like, "Hey, wait, I have an idea about
Yeah,
that,"
yeah.
and they were like, "Come on!" And they were like, I was like, in 1 week, all that. Well, I was like, "Well, that's crazy." So basically, I think everyone could spend a lot more time instead of making your own startup and like figuring out how to like make bunches of money. Let's just figure out how to use what we already have too. I don't mean anyone should stop innovating. I know that takes money too. That's not the point. I just mean we have a whole shitload of tools. Let's figure out how to use them. And it's kind of like cooking. So with the tools, it's kind of like, okay, the right mix, and then it tastes right, and you like take a little bit away, a little rush wallet away, throw in a little bit of this or whatever, and you can find the right mix for whatever you need to do, probably with a lot of the stuff that's already out there, and it's getting better very quickly, and it's crazy.
Theo,
I think that's a great point. Yeah, great point, Theo. And especially I like what you did with the video. That you made a video explaining how to do it so that even if your local group, they're busy, they don't have time, whatever, maybe a different local group could pick up your video and use your same idea. And this reminds me a lot of what Chris Ellis did recently with the blockchain ID. He took a bunch of existing tools, he stacked them together, he was very open about how he did it. He put it on GitHub, he has all the instructions, he's open to your comments and your ideas, and he's able to prove people's identities by storing them in the blockchain and then signing them with PGP keys and having a whole kind of a key signing party that becomes an identity creation party. And Chris did this totally himself with off-the-shelf tools. He didn't require a bunch of venture capital or fancy programmers. Chris is also not a programmer, though, again, if you apply yourself, if you really want to learn something, you can learn it. And Chris is learning programming, so watch out.
Yeah, Theo, to your point about let's like take a moment, stop and look around at our environment, I totally can relate to that feeling because, in the early days, I guess when before so many of these tools existed, there were these ideas, these grand ideas that people had, but no way to get there. And now it's worth taking a moment to say, like, well, here are these grand ideas that we had years ago. What tools do we have now that can get us there? Because they almost all exist. It's almost like, to me, that someone dumped out onto the living room floor all the Legos. Just like, here, all right, here's all the Legos are out, guys. Now what are you going to put together? Before we didn't have the Legos. We just had the ideas of what we wanted to build with them. But the tools are there now. So it is exciting to see that in just the span of a week, we can see a couple browser-based ideas for tipping entertainers and media producers online. And that's just one example because we're all incentivized by that. But there's tons.
And
Totally.
we also see things like MadeSafe. I mean, I had an idea a long time ago about a decentralized Facebook that would be on BitTorrent, and maybe you would host some kind of dark encrypted data that you don't even know what's inside there, but it's your friend of friends' photos. And if you had the key, you could look at them. And it would be a key-based Facebook system where you distribute everything on BitTorrent. And a lot of that can be done now because of the blockchain, because of the distributed database that we can't edit, that we can make sure is intact. And projects like MadeSafe could take these ideas and bring them back and really give them another try. Things like Facebook and Twitter, which right now seem like they could never be challenged, could be challenged by a very well-written decentralized program. Decentralize all the things, right?
Yeah, but then how do they make money? That is part of my concern. Are there
there's a lot of questions about that. That's a big issue, actually. So with some things, they have so-called app coins, and there could be issues with that. We're going to have to see. We're still young with that. So MadeSafe or Storage or gyms or I don't know.
It
There's
could
a lot
be
of
difficult for them to make money, Derek, because once they make the basic system, we don't really need them. Like, we need continued small tweaks to the basic system.
No, but like, unless you're so you got to have like a 1-2 punch of coming out with a decentralized program and then be the best in it. So like, if I were to think in my world, it would be I like cannabis. So if I wanted to make a decentralized service that made it possible to transact cannabis for value tokens around the world, in a decentralized way, then I would also want to be the #1 seller and producer of cannabis, so that it's just like, okay, here's the system, and anyone can use it, but I'm going to be #1. And
Hey, wait a minute. I've got an idea for you. So it's just off the top of the head. So, um, okay, you need lights. I mean, couldn't you use the heat from mining to like, help grow bud a little bit? I don't know. I mean, you could somehow change that into light power, and
I
then
don't
use
know.
that for the
Why?
light, and
Point of that.
then yeah. Anyway, you could make. I mean, you could
Then we
make
could have a
cannabis. You could.
spaceship.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Well, you
So,
can fork made safe and make, weed safe or whatever. But I get what you mean.
yeah, the
What
example
I'm, what
is,
I'm,
if you want to be the decentralized eBay, then you better be Walmart. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to be the biggest and the best to put out the service that everyone else is going to want to use for free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that. Well, it's not free to use these services. I get what you mean. It's still really unclear about how the whole developers make money exactly. I mean, I guess through the pre-sale of the app coin, they're funding the whole programming and development or whatever. And I mean, basically, it's kind of unclear who's going to get the short end of the deal, because in the end, someone's going to get the short end of the deal. So I really like MateSafe. I think it's awesome, and I think it's really crazy what they're trying to do. Crazy in a good way. But on the other hand, the coin is already traded live, and it's really has crazy price fluctuations, and that's maybe I'm going to be totally wrong, but I'm just saying either one, the investors are going to get a short end of the deal, the users, or the farmers, or all of them, or some of them, or I don't know, because it seems kind of weird how it's just traded right now already. On the other hand, okay, these places have to raise funds in order to develop their project, so there has to be a way to do it, and since it is a decentral project, it's a little bit more tricky to raise funds as if it was a central one. So this is still really experimental realm we're in. So it's quite interesting. Yeah?
Is it as tricky, or is it just the difference between a person who otherwise would be paid to be a propagandist just taking on the propagandist hat role and just saying, I'm going to spread this idea of MadeSafe,
No, it's more complicated than that, and I can't even explain it totally. It is more complicated than that because it's oh shit. I don't know. I don't really. So basically, I'll tell you like this.
A coin that works with MadeSafe, but we don't know how MadeSafe works. We don't know how the coin that works with MadeSafe works. The Ethereum project is much the same way, where they've sold Ether, and you use Ether to get gas, and you use gas to run your contracts, but no one knows how much Ether you use to get gas and how much gas you need to run your contract. It's very difficult to put the cart before the horse, but these projects are out there, and they hopefully will be developed, and we'll see what happens. We just have to wait.
Right, so kind of like what Thomas said, I mean, I read I think it's called the gray paper or the brown paper of Ether, and then I mean, it sounds funny, but it exists. So, and it explains about the gas and all that kind of stuff, and basically you decide how much your fuel costs in your contract in Ether. So, are you following this?
Yeah,
So
I follow it all.
Okay, no, I'm just joking. It's complicated for an outsider, but they could get it eventually. But what I want to say, and what Thomas is saying, is that on the one hand, MadeSafe and a lot of and storage, and they're great ideas, and I really like them, and I hope they come to an existence and they're really successful. But on the other hand, they're selling their tokens on hopes and dreams that may not come true, and you just have to just think about that for a minute. And I don't know if there was another way to fund it. I don't know. I mean, shit.
As long as they have one of those pumpy, scrolly websites, everything will be fine, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's let's see what happens. Let's hope it all goes well, but I'm not sure. And like what Thomas said, if I buy 100 MadeSafe coin or Safe coin or whatever it's called, I have no idea how much storage I get right now. I have no idea. It's not set to that. So so when I go somewhere and I buy it, I have no real relation and context to what that means. It doesn't mean anything right now. And some people say, well, that will SafeCoin will represent the value of the applications that run on the Safe network. Okay, but it will also represent what the people that already bought it before, what they have for a feeling. So if they are like, hell no, I'm not going to sell at this low price, they're just going to hold it. You see what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
not only that then, because there's already action now. So you have all that, and that's like kind of separate from the technology part, which is great. The technology part is like totally like freedom, and you can do whatever you want, and you can make your whole cannabis market or whatever. It's like really crazy next level stuff. It's like no blockchain, totally anonymous. I don't even know what you can get into like a real pipe dream with or wormhole with all this stuff about what it's possible to do. It's really great ideas, blue sky ideas, and that's good. But on the other end, so anyway, I also talked to the people with BitTunes. That's another project, and it's not decentral now. It's centralized right now, but they want to be decentral. But they have a different idea. They have the idea that they want to do it they call it a technological staircase. So it's like, okay, first we've got to and right now they're concentrating on music. Okay, so that's why it's called BitTunes, kind of like iTunes. And iTunes did the same thing. So iTunes, when they started, it was just music, right? But now they have like all this other stuff. I mean, I'm not even a Mac person, but I know that they have like all kinds of stuff. They have like movies and books, and I don't know, whatever I don't know. You can't buy cannabis, but you can buy a lot of stuff, right? So what I mean is they have the idea, okay, let's like start small or smaller and concentrate and get that right. Okay, we're going to get like the centralized version correct and do the music, and then go from there, and then like try to do it like on a side chain, or I don't know what, they have some ideas with side chains and stuff. So and use it like kind of like torrent and all this other kind of stuff. But I think it's an interesting idea, and I think that's also an interesting way to go about it. I believe they got funding just from traditional VC style or whatever, but I don't know for sure.
They had a crowd sale recently, and they raised $500,000 through a crowd sale, $500,000.
BitTunes did?
Yeah,
or
BitTunes. They sold I mean, I don't want to be critical, but they sold
okay.
a currency they're calling the Note, which is very similar to SafeCoin, which is very similar to Ethereum.
That's different. So. That's different. That's called different? So yeah. Okay. That's
Pure Tracks is what that's called.
Yes, exactly. Right. So all right. So let's go. So this is how easy to understand everything is. So we've got over here, we've got something called BitShares Music, and there's also the BitShares Foundation, and they created Pure Music, or Pure Shares, or whatever it's called.
Pure Tracks, yeah.
See, Pure Tracks. Sorry, Pure Tracks. So to make it easy for new users, right? So, and but that's not on Bitcoin. That's on BitShares X. Okay, got that.
And that's different than Counterparty?
Yes, that's totally different because it's a totally different blockchain. And it has a totally different system. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin except that it's a cryptocurrency and it has a blockchain. Okay? If anyone wants to describe it better, then just do so in the comments. Okay? So, all right. So basically, what is cool about BitShares is that you can start your own decentralized company and all this kind of stuff. And okay, that is pretty interesting, and they do have some cool ideas, but I don't really like how that whole pure music thing or pure tracks thing kind of is. It's really confusing, and they had this, it shows that you can make things really complicated and hard for other outsiders to understand. So let me give you an example. One example is in BitShares X, there's something called BitUSD, and BitUSD is a pegged derivative of US dollar that's always worth $1 as long as you're in the BitShares X system. But to make it simpler for everybody, inside Pure Tracks, there's also BitUSD, but that's a different BitUSD than the one in BitShares X. It's really complicated. I'm sorry. I like music. I like people trying to, get artists money. I'm totally in favor of that. That's why I even took a look at it. But and I like a lot of things that the Pure Tracks thing is saying. Like their concepts and why they're doing it and stuff like that. But it's really complicated, and it's using an altcoin, which is BitShares X. It sounds like a bad word, altcoin, but it is. And I don't know. I'm just not really. BitTunes, on the other hand, is basically an app that is centralized now, and all you do is you upload a song, and if you buy the song, then if someone else buys the song, you also get a small cut of what they paid. So I sell a song as an artist, and I get a cut of every time someone buys it. Creative Commons gets a cut, BitTunes gets a cut, and the other people that bought it get a cut. And I don't want to go into more detail without telling it wrong. I don't remember the percentages, but it's based. Yeah, you buy everything is based in Bitcoin. There's no altcoin. There's no token. This is interesting. So it's totally in Bitcoin. No altcoin, no tokens. 100% Bitcoin. And so that is interesting because what happens is that I buy something and then I think it's good because I like it, but I also think it's good because other people will like it and buy it. Okay, it's like speculation a little bit. But but it's also the way they have it set up. It's kind of like Twitter and kind of like social. So I see, hey, Thomas bought that. I'm going to check it out. Hey, if I buy it, I know Thomas is going to get a part of the royalties too. It's kind of like a different thing, but he kind of recommended it because he actually paid for it, even if it was only 50 cents or something. He put his 50 cents down on that. So, I mean, if it was total crap, it wouldn't make sense for Thomas to put his 50 cents down. You know what I mean? So this is like a different dynamic of everything. What I like about it is that it's purely in Bitcoin, no tokens, no pre-sale, no app coin, no nothing. Okay, they had to get funded beforehand, or they're just working for nothing right now. Okay, that's how it is. But that is an interesting way to do it. They have the idea that sidechains will work, and they want to eventually have their own sidechain. We'll see if that works out. But I think that that's an interesting way to do it, and it definitely cuts out the middleman. The middleman is the distributor right now.
The problem with Pure Tracks or Ethereum or MadeSafe or any of these other token sale systems is that they're all attempting to replicate Bitcoin. Bitcoin started off early, and if you were really smart, you could have bought some and you could have held it, and then it would have went way up in value. So what they're saying is, come invest in our crowd sale, buy our random token early, and hold on to it, and it'll go up in value like Bitcoin. And I'm not sure that's always the case. That is generally what these crowd sales seem to be based on, and each one seems pretty much exactly the same as the last.
I have a question.
All right, go ahead.
What do you have to trade in order to get the token?
What do you mean Bitcoin, like money?
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Real
and
money.
And then who has the Bitcoin?
So whoever made the token originally. I mean,
So which one has value?
Well, they're obviously. I mean, on its face, they want Bitcoin. So Bitcoin must be the valuable token. They're the ones selling a million random coin. So
right. So I just print a million random coin, and I say, give me Bitcoin for it, and you get my million. It sounds like a good deal, huh? Would you like some Theocoin? I have some based on Doge Party. I can get, if you on the comments, if you post your Doge Party address, I'll give you some tokens, and if you post your clearinghouse address, I'll also give you some tokens. I have a counterparty token too, but it's too rare to give out for free. So, but if you have a Doge Party address or a clearinghouse address, then I will give you some tokens, and we can talk about what possible uses are.
So many tokens, but we've still got a couple more questions and comments from Dan. Dan says, Theo, you're not the first or the last to suggest breaking the second law of thermodynamics. So he's talking
I'm not really sure which one that is, but
I think that was, well, I think it's energy can't be turned into other energy. It like loses energy. Right. Because you were trying to convert the energy of the light bulbs and the energy of the miners into more energy.
Ah, okay, I got it. Right, yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, you know, these miners, you can use the energy for something. I mean, I had the idea of Waffle House actually, because I really like Waffle House in the States. It's one of my favorite places. I don't know, do they have Waffle House in California?
Not that many. It's not a big deal. In the South, it's like a big deal. Like Chris Rock's like, or Kid Rock, sorry,
Yeah.
he's like, I want to go to Waffle House.
Yeah.
That's my place. And like around here, I
Yeah.
mean, we have Denny's. I think it's kind of like that.
Denny's, Denny's is okay, but it's only because there's no Waffle House. I don't know. I don't know what it is about the South, but yeah. So, hey, Waffle House is really cool, but basically what they use is a really flat skillet, okay? And it's just this flat piece of metal. So what if under that flat piece of metal was just a bunch of really hot miners, and they just like heated up that skittle? You just put the oil down. You cook eggs. I mean, most of your cooking stuff that doesn't take a whole. Okay, you couldn't cook a steak. So steak and eggs, you'd have to go over to the gas one, you know. But like you could do, you know, eggs. You could do hash browns. You could do pancakes. No problem. You probably have to use electricity for the waffle iron and to cook the steaks, but you know, most of the stuff could be cooked on a skillet, possibly powered by, you know, really hardcore miners. And at the same time, you know, they're generating heat and they're mining Bitcoin. And that would be a really cool idea, and it'd be a double use. I mean, these things get hot enough to cook an egg.
They could make the chips like big circles, the same size as the frying pan.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what else you could do? You could make pancakes with Bitcoin logos without a problem. You just have to make a form.
I interrupt this Waffle House fantasy to talk about a hero. Someone has just sent 255 bitcoins to blockchain.info. A white hat hacker apparently discovered their coins. Thomas, did you report on this?
I did this morning. He said that he saw a bunch of exposed addresses. Blockchain did a update previous night, and they had some kind of a problem, and they exposed hundreds of private keys. And instead of just saying, "Hey, free money for me," this guy said, "Hey, that's someone else's money. I'm gonna grab it. I'm gonna hold it." And as Derek's showing, he put it in his little Trezor wallet, which everyone should try out. It's a very cool product. They supported me, gave me a discount on mine. I haven't gotten a chance to do a review yet, but I do have one here. It's a little USB key fob thing.
Thinner than I thought.
It's very small, and it came in a very small package as well. So if I was them, I would make the packaging a little bigger just so it seems like a more expensive item. But yeah, it's a very small little Bitcoin wallet. You can put your Bitcoins in there, and you can sign your transactions offline. So when he sent the money back to blockchain or whatever he did, he used his Trezor to sign it securely. And I think he's putting a little lesson in there for the rest of us. If you're keeping your Bitcoins in an exchange, if you're keeping your Bitcoins in an online hot wallet, even the hottest of hot wallet that maybe you're using for social tipping, they can be stolen very easily. You need to keep your Bitcoins offline in a paper wallet or in something like Trezor or Ledger, where it's a hardware offline wallet.
Sound wallet.
Sound wallet.
Yeah.
In a record or a cassette tape. Absolutely.
Right. Exactly. That's what you got to do.
Own your own private keys. You have the choice to how you want a Bitcoin.
So what's next? So I think we need to make a meme or whatever you call it, a slogan. You know, get your hands off my privates, or something like that. You know, that could be like something that could catch on. You know, we need a good picture too. So if you don't touch my privates. That's my private key. Get it? You know.
I like the saying, Theo, but I think it's also worth pointing out that almost $90,000 was transferred, and if you'll notice, the fee down here was a total of about 18 cents. It's pretty
right, exactly. So when Andreas was on Joe Rogan, I think it was him, he told a story. He was like, hey, there was this time when I don't remember the exact story, but it was like, hey, we were a group of like 5 people, and we were showing them how Bitcoin worked, and everyone had a smartphone, everyone downloaded a wallet, and the one guy was like, okay, I'm going to send you some Bitcoin. He sent it to the first person, and he looked at it, it was like $250,000 worth of Bitcoin. It's like, oh shit. And it's like, okay, now send it to the next person. They just did like a little circle around the table, you know, and they sent $250,000 dollars worth of Bitcoin in a little circle. It probably cost what, like, I don't know, 10 cents to do all the transactions, or a dollar, or I don't know what. But I mean, if you compare that to what the banks cost, and the speed and the security and how much data and everything that was like given in order to do that, it's really crazy amazing, that actually worked.
That's
Yeah.
that's just heavy to think about. Can you imagine? I would feel like my phone just got heavier. Like, whoa. You
And,
know?
and remember, you can try your own experiment with $20. You can pretend that the $20 is a million, and you can give it to your friend, who gives it to your other friend, who gives it to your other friend, who gives it back to you. And I'll bet you'll still have, $18, $19 right there easily. And you sent it all. You could send it all around the world. I mean, you could send it. We could have a hop where we'd say, "Hey, let's send it to Theo through the web chat," and Theo would get it, and then we'd say, "Hey, Derek, Theo, send it to Derek," and he'd send it. I mean, we can all these experiments, and it's a great idea to try it out. To try out the Bitcoin with an experiment, even with $1, send $1 around for
That
fun.
would be kind of cool. I want to do that on a show. We should send Bitcoin to each other through the screens, just as a.
Yeah, well, if we use Rush Wallet, or if we use blockchain info, then it makes that nice computer hardware beep. I really like that beep. It's like beep. This is like
It's a good one.
internal, yeah, but it's the internal speaker of the computer, which is like something that used to be used a lot on really old computers. And there's something about that sound that is really good.
You just have to count the beats when your computer booted up to see if what was not working. You could tell the different.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what it is. That beep really is a good effect. So all those people that are making all these cool new software things, use the internal speaker and make that beep, because that is such a great beep. This hardware beep means, oh, it's a serious business now. You did something really serious.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we're getting almost to the end of this show, too, so I wanted to mention a couple more things while we're here. Last week, we talked about BitGive, and they had the partnership with LibreTax that excited Derek so much. You can pay your taxes, and then they'll have a little slider, and it'll say, if you donate this much to charity, you could pay less in taxes legally. So they have a press release about that. It's out today. So congratulations to BitGive and LibreTax.
I
We
thought
also
it
had...
was an option to pay all of your taxes to charity.
I think that would be an option. I don't know how many people would want to give away that much of their money, though. So I think they'd probably end up with less money. We also have this from Philippe, the great Photoshopper on Twitter, @Philippe. And he's done a whole bunch of Photoshops this year, 2010. I wish I could get this to play a little faster. But you should definitely check out this video. It's on my Twitter, @MadBitcoins. And if we skip ahead here, we see he's got a bunch of movie posters, advertising. Just great work by Philippe.
Well, let's
Really,
let that roll. That's such a good video.
yeah. You want it? Well, go back to the start. We'll just let it roll, and let's go ahead and we can talk over it. I'm not going to play the music. Google has real issues anytime we play music. I don't want to upset the Google, but I think Philippe would be fine with us, appreciating his work here and sharing it with you. So, little Losky Jaws action. Of course, Carpellis as the Gox father.
Reservoir Dogs. These are good.
Yeah. And it's just the kind of thing where I think he's been doing about one a week. So if he did one a week this whole year, that's 52. And it's a good idea for anyone that wants to do anything. Like we wanted to do this show, so we started doing it every week, and we get a little better at it every week. And he wanted to do Photoshop, so he started doing them every week. And as you can see, he's obviously talented as well, but he gets a little better every week, gets better ideas. And if you have an idea, you can send it to @Philippe on Twitter if you want to send him a tip, or if you want to donate some Bitcoins. He's got a QR code in this video. You can use your hot wallet to donate some Bitcoins. There's Bitcoin Time with Mad Bitcoins as a computer game character. It's very cool. Oh, yeah. There's Bryce Wiener. It's Planet of the Alts.
Planet of the Alts.
Yeah, it's neat, huh? Finding Nakamoto. So I did the whole box cover. Pretty cool.
Cold Storage Wars.
There it is, the immortal transaction. This is great. Escape from New York Department of Financial Services. Overly complex and naive Bitcoin rules that only it knows. Whack-a-mole. Oh, that was Edge. Bitcoin innovation happens on the edge. Da Vinci Code.
My left fiat.
Also got some comments from Dan. Dan says that he would tip Elvis. He would tip Elvis, and he also says that money laundering does not necessarily mean theft.
Yeah, it doesn't mean theft. It means, whoops, I left my USB stick in my pants and it's in the laundry.
Do not wash your treasure. That would not be good.
Right. No, I like that you're actually saying trésor and not treasure anymore. That's good.
I like treasure.
Treasure was actually pretty cool, actually. You know, yeah, that's cool. They have you a few times. Yeah, treasure is good, but that's just not the word. Trésor. It stopped me now. Shit.
I don't know if it's just frozen on Thomas though.
I thought it was me. Okay, I thought it was me. So anyway, hey Thomas, I guess it's Feathercoin with soap. It's pretty
first
weird.
Rule of Feathercoin. Tell everyone about Feathercoin. That's funny. That one, and the Immortal transaction were my favorite ones.
That's a good one.
Yeah, since Thomas died, and since that was the end, that was the conclusion. That was what we were going to end on anyway. Let's just do this again next week. What do you say, Theo?
I'm down. I'm cool with doing it next week. And everyone should check out transmission.rocks or soundwallet.net or World Crypto Network and check out all the cool videos and come back next week. I think on Friday is the Bitcoin group, and on the weekend is Bitcoin Rush and Transmission and This Week in Cryptos. And I think you probably have like a show coming up on another station like right now or the next day or something, right?
Yep. Every Wednesday night after this show, I host a show called Cop Block Radio where I do a hat change.
Oh, no. You've got a lot to talk about then, right?
Ooh, there's a lot going on tonight.
Oh,
so
man.
Tune in live at LR